Hey, everybody. It's been a while since I talked movies, and I just saw a bit of news that inspired me to want to do that. While some of you may roll your eyes, as my daughter did just now when I told her about it, um, they are finally making Bill and Ted 3. They're calling it Bill and Ted Face the Music. Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter are coming back. I'm thrilled about that because Bill and Ted was one of my favorite movies from the 80s. I love the sequel as well. I've wanted this to be a complete trilogy for 2 decades now, almost three, and they're finally making it happen. And it made me realize something, and that's kind of what inspired me to want to do this video. Not that long ago, I sat in front of these shelves and I talked about my 100 favorite movies. And I used to do regular blogs and videos about different movies. I used to do reviews. I used to do commentary on different, things happening in film. And I don't do that anymore. And I kind of touched on this when I talked about the Channel Awesome situation in my last video. Movies aren't really exciting to me the way that they used to be. And the reason for that to me is there's a sameness now. There's a sameness to movies that has slowly eroded my enthusiasm. The Marvel movies, which I love, and I think Infinity War may be the best yet. They're reaching the mountaintop. You know what I mean? Now that Infinity War is done, there's 3 movies left in what is considered Marvel's Phase 3. And after that, Spider-Man 2, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Doctor Strange 2, Black Panther 2. And that's where you're losing me, because what they've done thus far is unprecedented, the sort of universe that they've built in film. But where does it go after this sort of unprecedented concluding? It's a sort of it's having your cake and eating it too. It's ending the MCU without ending it in Avengers 4. And to me, that's what sort of while I would say right now Avengers 4 might be my number one movie that I'm looking forward to. I can't say that beyond that I'm all that excited about the other movies. Even though I love it, I'm sure I'll go see them. But what I'm here to talk about right now is actually this. Because as you can see, this is how much space I've got left. You got Indiana Jones right there. This space right here, and then I've got space for 4 more Blu-rays. I don't have a hell of a lot of room on my DVD shelves. In fact, I've gotten rid of a lot of movies. I've combined a lot of movies. I sometimes will, for example, right here you've got the John Wick collection. There is no John Wick collection that I know of. I bought a 3-disc case, and somebody made some art for me. And I've got 1 and 2 in here and a spot for 3 when it comes out next year. And that has saved me space, but it's not going to save me forever. I'm running out of room. Not only am I running out of room, but the time is coming, let's face it. You've been to Target, you've been to Walmart, you've been to your local store where they sell DVDs and Blu-rays. Those sections get smaller and smaller and smaller every year. And the time is coming where they're just not going to make these anymore. And so I do look at 2020 as being kind of the end of collecting for me, for the most part. There might be a straggler here and there that I might pick up after that, but I look at it this way. Let's say that I'm shot in outer space, and all I can have are the movies behind me and whatever will fit on that shelf. What are the movies that I don't have? What are the movies that I feel like I need to complete this collection? Well, Bill and Ted 3 now. Thank you. And the rest of the Phase 3 of the MCU, but what else is there? Well, obviously there's Episode 9, which I'm excited for. I know a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi. I did. It wasn't as good as Force Awakens, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm looking forward to the conclusion of that trilogy. Beyond that, for Star Wars, I'm not really all that excited for Solo. The rumor is that after Episode 9, it'll be an Obi-Wan movie. That is something that would interest me, especially if Ewan McGregor came back. But am I all that excited for Episode 10, 11, 12? No. Episode 9, to me, is sort of the end of that. There's some movies coming out this summer that I'm excited for. I'm excited for Deadpool 2. That has a spot on the shelf. I'm excited for Mission Impossible Fallout. That has a spot on the shelf waiting for it. But when you talk about like next year Terminator 6 and stuff like that, it's time for Terminator and Aliens and things like that to be done. The DC Extended Universe has been an utter failure, in my opinion. Even Wonder Woman, which is the one everybody loves, I just think is okay. So anything beyond Justice League, which I bought Justice League only because I feel like my 5-year-old self would not have forever forgiven me for not buying a Justice League movie. And it's probably the only Justice League movie we're likely to ever get. If they do reboot it, I don't even know how they reboot it after the mess they've made with DC, but I am very excited for The Irishman. That actually is a Netflix movie, but I would buy it. Like, I would buy the physical thing, so that the disc, so that I had it in case Netflix goes down. I would buy it. Because it's Scorsese doing a gangster movie for the last time, but doing it with De Niro, Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Joe Pesci, so the greats of gangster movies, working with the greatest gangster director ever, and they're doing this thing where they're de-aging all the actors, so you get to see like De Niro and Pacino and everybody when they're young, which is amazing, and I'm so excited for that movie. That is up there as far as like one of the most anticipated movies for me. I'm very excited for the second half of It. I loved the first It. I thought that was a great adaptation. It's set when I was a kid. Those kids are like the same age I was at that time, pretty much. So that was fun for me, and I love the cast that's shaping up. I'm Bill Hader as Richie. That's amazing. When I think about the movies that I would want on the shelf, it's sort of the things that complete things. You know what I mean? Like, when I think about another James Bond, I've got all the Bond movies. From Dr. No to Spectre. Right here in these 4 cases. Do I need another Bond movie? I don't. I really don't. Doesn't mean I wouldn't go see it. But would I need it? Do I need it? Do I have to own it? Do I have to have it here as part of my collection? I don't. No. There's a lot of people talk about sort of, Indiana Jones 5. Indiana Jones 5 is coming. Okay. Could I fit it in there? Yeah, I've got my Indy collection. I could maybe pop out one of the bonus. I could get rid of the bonus disc for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull and have Indy 5 in there. But I don't know. I mean, some of these movies just they don't excite me because it's not going to be anything that completes anything. I mean, if you look at, like, for instance, I'm not opposed to the female reboot, the sequel to Ocean's 11. I like the Ocean's movies. I've got all of them, even the one from the 60s. I think that Ocean's 8 looks kind of fun. I'm waiting to kind of see what the critics say, but I'd consider going to see it. Do I need to own it? See, that's where you're getting into something tricky, because clearly by calling it Ocean's 8, I think they're trying to start a new trilogy because it would be 8, 9, 10, and then that would go into 11. Not that they're prequels, but they're, I can see the logic behind that. So if you buy Ocean's 8, wouldn't you kind of feel obligated at that point to keep buying these movies, to buy 9, to buy 10? And really the question is, how many movies can I even watch in the rest of my life? There are movies on these shelves that I will die and never see them again. I mean, I'll never, and I've whittled this down to the movies on here. I don't want to get rid of any more of them. I really, these are the movies that I love. These are the movies that I want to keep. But again, there's movies where I'll never see them again. I don't have time in the rest of my life to watch all of these movies. And I still love cinema. I really do. I mean, we're working on our animated movie. I'm very excited for that. There'll be a place on the shelves for that. I mean, right here on the shelf behind me, very proud to have Creative Chaos among my collection. Sits right between the Maltese Falcon and Man on the Moon. So I love movies. I do. It's not that I hate movies. It's not that I want to shit on movies. But, I have a friend who keeps trying to get me excited about, like, the idea of the Venom movie. I'd love the Venom movie if you told me if it was part of the MCU and they were integrating it with Spider-Man and everything. Do I want just a standalone Venom movie that has nothing to do with Spider-Man? That seems really stupid and ridiculous. And why would I want that? I would want a Spider-Man movie with Venom in it, where there's build-up and, he wears the black suit and people say, well, that was Spider-Man 3. No, like, they could do proper build-up. I mean, Spider-Man was just in space in Infinity War. We could have some proper build-up where maybe that planet he's on has a symbiote and it attaches, and that's part of the story. And then we build into a Venom movie. Part of the problem now is the replicating of the Marvel formula. And there's a rush to keep up. DC is guilty of it. It's what has collapsed them completely. Look at what Universal was going to do. Universal, that idea of like a Universal monster universe, that's a freaking amazing idea. I would have loved to have seen that. But I saw The Mummy. It ain't going to happen. There are movies that I'm very excited about because they are wrapping up their little universes. John Wick 3. I'm excited for that because they're saying this is it. This is the end of John Wick's story. Great. Fantastic. Give me an end. Avengers 4, even though there's going to be more movies beyond it, it's an end. Episode 9 is an end. Bill and Ted 3 is an end. They're not saying, oh, this is the start of a new Bill and Ted trilogy, like they're doing with, for instance, Terminator. Oh, this is the start of a new Terminator trilogy. How about you make one good movie? Make me one good movie, and then we'll talk about, Terminator 7 and 8 and 9 and beyond that. Ridley Scott disappointed so many of us with Prometheus and Alien Covenant because part of it was, in his mind, well, I'm making like 5 or 6 of these. Well, we just wanted to see one. We just wanted to see the one movie. Years ago, I was bitching about, in a video, The Hobbit. Look at how that turned out. It's not that I'm opposed to these movies continuing on. It's that you've got to make each installment and think about it and what you're doing. Marvel is sort of a once in a generation thing. And it's going to fail at some point. I mean, I don't think it's going to be soon, but at some point, they're going to make a bomb. Kevin Feige's going to retire. Amy Pascal's going to screw up something with Spider-Man. The whole thing is going to collapse under the weight of its own history. You can't tell me that we're going to get to Avengers 17 and we're going to build to Galactus and Kang the Conqueror and all these people, these villains, and these... How do you even get a bigger threat than Thanos? And everybody says Galactus. Galactus just wants to eat one planet. wants to wipe out half the universe. Well, we're going to have the X-Men, though, and it's going to be X-Men versus Avengers, and it's going to be the Fantastic Four will be there, and we'll have the Silver Surfer, and, Captain Marvel Part 5, and, we'll have the Red Hulk, and we'll have... Look, I love comics. I love the history of comics. I love this sort of building of the universe of comics. I think film is different. And I'm not bummed out by this. I mean, I look at it the same way I look at music. I mean, I'm an old man. I stopped liking new music a long time ago. But every now and then there's a song comes out and I hear it and I go, I like that. And so I, put it on my iPod because I still have an iPod. That's the way I'm looking at movies. There'll be movies come out, and maybe I will have, excuse me, a digital library. Maybe I'll start buying the movies on Amazon. Maybe I'll start, but to me, though, that's not the same. It's just not the same as owning it and having a physical copy and saying, this is mine. Because Amazon can go out of business or the internet can go down, and I can still watch any of these movies. I will be in the theater probably, unless the reviews are absolutely terrible. I will be in the theater for Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. But every time that trailer comes on before a movie, my girlfriend and I look at each other and we just go, and it feels sort of like an obligation almost, like, yeah, I guess. But I'm very much getting over that. I remember thinking I had to go see X-Men Apocalypse. I had to go see Independence Day Resurgence. I didn't see either one. I finally just went, I don't want to see this movie. I just really, really don't want to watch this movie. And the same could happen with Jurassic World 2 or Jurassic Park 5 or whatever we're calling it. Where I just look at it and I finally go, you know what? Jurassic World was the last Jurassic Park. I don't need any more. Hollywood has survived a long time, and it's hard to argue with this concept of sequels and remakes and reboots and everything. And I've argued the merit of reboots and remakes. I think they should all be judged based on their individual merit. I think a lot of people who just dismiss, the first comment on Joe Blow when under the Bill and Ted 3 article was, well, Hollywood's officially out of ideas. Now, Hollywood's been officially out of ideas for decades. This is not the death toll sounding for it. I think that as we move into the next decade, media is going to change. You're not going to have these discs anymore. Same with video games. Video games will not be on discs anymore. I don't even know why they continue to make CDs. Everything's going to be electronic. Everything's going to be downloadable. And that's the way that it's going to go, and that's fine, and that's progress, and I guess that's probably better for the environment, too, that I don't have a wall of plastic like this. But there's something about it that just, I don't know. It drains my enthusiasm for the idea of cinema. I think it's great that The Irishman is going to be on Netflix. I like many of you, was surprised that there was a Cloverfield movie that just was there one day. It's an interesting and it's a fascinating way to have movies come out now, and I'm hoping that it's one of the things that we can do with the animated movie when it comes out is that we could. I'm not aiming for a theatrical release. I'm going to be aiming for a streaming site. But there is something about movies going the way that they're going that has just really taken the fun out of it for me. I'm not as into it as I was. And that's okay. I'm kind of looking at it as, in 2020, when I'm sort of calling it quits on buying Blu-rays and DVDs. I turn 40. My daughter will turn 18. She'll be an adult. It's a new phase for me in my life. And so moving beyond the things that obsessed me when I was 20 is something that I feel like I'm ready to do. And I'm having fun saying goodbye to these franchises. I hope very much that, I'm not saying don't ever, for instance, they're talking about Star Trek 4. There's a lot of news lately about Star Trek 4. Star Trek Beyond was enough for me. Star Trek Beyond, I won't spoil it, but it ends so perfectly for me. And it was a good movie, but it was my favorite of those remake, prequel, reboot movies. It ends so perfectly that I remember seeing that and just thinking, that's it. That's where I'm cutting off Star Trek. And one day when I'm an old man and I'm just trying to get my Blu-ray player to work because it's 30 years old and I'm trying to get it to work because they don't make them anymore. I pop in Star Trek Beyond, and I don't think I'm going to be thinking about Star Trek 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and all the movies that come after that. Because I think I'm just ready for it to be done. I think I'm just ready for those to be done. And I'm ready for new things, including movies. Something like the Manic Expression animated movie. It's a new idea. It's a different idea. It's people I haven't seen a million times in movies. And ideas I haven't seen a million times in movies. That to me is where I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go for new things. Tarantino's retiring after his 10th movie. And, Thanos is gonna come back one more time and challenge the Avengers. And Bill and Ted are gonna face the music. And I think that's where I'm ready to sit back with my popcorn, watch those movies, buy them, put them on these shelves, and say, fade out, the end.